Got two girls in the cut, and I don't know what to do. I fell in love with you, fell in love with you. Two girls in the
What is up,
cut, which
everybody?
one to
Welcome
choose?
back to the best
I fell in
podcast in the
love
world, the
with
Draft Guys
you, fell
Podcast
in
with
love with
Peyton
you.
and Nico. As always, I'm your host, Nico Chambers. Nico, the Draft Guy, you can call me. Pedon is on the other line. Pedon, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm really, really excited for this one. Got the offense today, got the quarterbacks and receivers, running backs, all the big name positions. We had a blast with the defensive one, and I'm sure this one's going to be just as much fun. I'm really excited.
Just as Pedon said, the positional rankings for the NFL Draft 2026 prospects. And we're going to show you the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the tackles, and the interior offensive linemen. And as you see on the graphic, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. And I'm going to let P Dunn have the floor because I call him the quarterback whisperer. He loves watching the quarterbacks off the film. So, P Dunn, talk to me about your rankings.
Yeah, this is such a fun group because it's not a awesome, like I don't think there's going to be a lot of starters coming out of this group, but it wouldn't really shock me if we get down the road and there's four or five of these guys in the league that are average to, somewhere in the 20 to 30 range in the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And so I think that's fun. I'm excited to see where a lot of these quarterbacks end up, especially with a guy like Aller. Aller was one of the most fun guys, similar to you. I bet you felt the same that we watched. I had a blast watching him. You love the arm talent, you love the arm strength, you love the athlete. There's flashes there that are just so much fun, and you can't quit the guy. I see you got him at three. Like he's when he hits, and there's so much there. There's so much potential there. His sky is very high, and I'm very interested to see where he ends up in this draft because I know someone's going to talk to their way into drafting him higher than these quarterbacks. They always end up doing that. These high tier, high ceiling guys, like they always end up doing that. And I think Aller's going to be no different.
He reminds me a lot of Zach Wilson in a way where he can randomly throw a deep ball. He hits, his misses are there also. But you have to remember this guy was, the preliminary number one draft pick at the start of the year, him and Nussmeier, but it was mainly Drew Aller. He was like the Heisman favorite. He was all these different things. And obviously he had a fall off year. Pete, talk to me about Nussmeier at 6 for you.
I'm not super high on him. I didn't, this year was interesting. So I did watch some games from the previous season. Because similar to the Klubnik and Aller conversations about, there was a lot of expectations coming into this season for them. They didn't match those. And Nussmeier, to me, I see as the least translatable out of the three quarterbacks. I think he's obviously short. He's not a tall guy. He's got a thicker build. He's not skinny. I like the arm talent. It's not, he doesn't have a rocket. It's not a massive arm, and he's not the most accurate quarterback in the world. And I don't love his processing skills. I don't think he's a great athlete. I think the dude's kind of just a baller. Like he just kind of figures it out and he makes it work. And we're watching a guy that in the league right now in Jackson Dart, who was one of the best rookie quarterbacks last season, who's making that work and making that skill set work at the next level. And it does happen. It's just not super projectable. And a lot of times you throw that dart at the board and it doesn't hit. And so I like Nussmeier. I think he's going to be a good backup. I don't see the potential. Then, the five guys above him all have a standout trait that they all have. Nussmeier doesn't really have that for me. He's kind of just a dude, which is a good thing, and that's how you up as QB6. But that's what separates to me what separates him from the other five.
I think a guy who's going to have his stocks really rise now, it's going to be Ty Simpson, one of your favorite guys in this class. Every day that goes by, I find it harder and harder to not mock him to the Cardinals at 3. I mean, just after the way free agency went for them, and after kind of the way that they're starting to rebuild this team with the new head coach, I just think he's going to go at 3. And it should be interesting. You should tune into our next mock draft where we can talk about it. But yeah, I think Cardinals would be a really good spot for Ty Simpson. I don't think that he's going to be a Jet anymore. He could be, but I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. I mean, Pete, what do you think of that?
I think so too. And I don't love it because we see this happen all the time with these quarterbacks that get drafted way too early and they don't end up in a good situation. They get thrown in the fire and it doesn't work. I don't love the idea, especially with the Cardinals at three. Um, but I mean, we'll see. I think you're right. Like this is what happens. The quarterback two is always elevated. And maybe sometimes not the quarterback two. Think like JJ McCarthy and that even that the sixth quarterback drafted, Bo Nix and that Bo Nix is the one, not JJ. Bo Nix was the last quarterback drafted in that first those six quarterbacks. And he was
At
a second
12.
round. Yeah, he was a second round guy, and he just got elevated because the Broncos were like, the quarterbacks ran out. Like we have to get a quarterback, and someone's always going to draft that next guy earlier than he should go, and that's Ty Simpson. He's that next quarterback after Mendoza and the Cardinals or anybody else in that range could be like, crap, we need a quarterback. We got to draft Ty, and someone's going to reach on him. And I hope it works. I think it can work. I like the way he translates to the league. He has an NFL mind and he's young. He hasn't played a lot of football. He's NFL arm. I like him a lot. I think that these NFL organizations, the more they watch him, the more they get to know this guy. I think they're going to like him a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we look back at a draft class 2 years ago, and that had six quarterbacks. Like, are we serious? And now we have this one where I see two first round quarterbacks. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just talk to me about Cade Klubnik while we're here at quarterback three, because you're super high on him.
I am. I like him a lot. Something as we're starting to get our feet underneath of us as scouts, we start to recognize our own tendencies. My tendency watching the quarterback is I want to see how your mind works. How do you process things? It's the biggest thing I've struggled with Mendoza is like, okay, I know you can throw the football really well. There's a lot more to quarterback than that. That the reason there's so many quarterbacks that come into the league and have A plus arms. And Zach Wilson was like that. Great arm talent. And he never got it there. And I like watching these players that know what they're doing, know what the defense is doing, have control of the offense, are able to go through read progressions. And Klubnik checks a lot of those boxes for me. He was a lot more developed mentally than I was expecting him to be. The arm talent, it's not great. It's not I probably have him at a B arm. It's not a great arm. The arm strength isn't great. I don't love the way he throws over the middle, but he's willing to throw over the middle. He's willing to make a lot of these throws. And the way that he processes mentally just is something like I said, I covet. And since he checked that box, he's pretty easy my quarterback three.
It should be really interesting to see. Obviously, we have pro days coming up. We have a lot of different things on the NFL calendar that we can point to that's going to make our job a little bit easier, but it's still very hard to predict these things. And we'll move into a class that has been very up and down. That we've had a lot of risers, a lot of fallers. It's going to be the running back class. And we're looking at it, and man, I mean, look at it as it is. You see everything on the screen, but we have a consensus top three. So, Pete, how do you feel about the top three? Mike Washington obviously is in it.
Yeah, I like these three guys a lot. Going into watching this group, I was expecting to like them more than I think I ended up doing now. I think I expected to see probably 7 to 8 guys that I thought could contribute immediately. And I don't think I'm there. I think I'm really confident that these top 4 or 5 can come in and contribute immediately. And then there's some question marks after that. But these top 3 guys are really good. Jeremiah Love, we're not even going to talk about him. You know Jeremiah Love. Jadarian Price and Mike Washington both surprised me. I liked them more than I thought I was going to. Jadarian Price, especially. He's going to end up as a top 40, top 50 player for me at the end of this draft. That's where he's sitting right now. He's really, really good. He's very explosive. He's a lot faster than his 40 time gave him credit for. I think he's a much better athlete than that. He's good laterally. He's not a great, he's not super shifty, right? But he's a good one cut and go guy. After that one cut, he's probably not going to give you a lot, but he's got that straight line speed. This guy's the guy that returned 2 touchdowns in the kicking game for Notre Dame over the last 2 seasons. He's good between the tackles. I like his vision. The main question mark with him is he was the backup to Jeremiah Love, and there wasn't a lot of tape on him. You're not able to go and you're like, okay, he ran the ball 22 times against Ohio State. Like, let me watch these 22 plays. Like, there isn't that. And so you wish you had that. I fully believe that that's also a positive because he's going to be able and he's less tread on those tires when he gets into the league. And so he's going to be able to go. He's going to be able to go quickly. I think he can be a change of pace back. I also think he can be an every down back for these players. He's not great out of the backfield. He's not a great receiver. This is a well-rounded player other than that, and I think he's really, really good.
Everything you just described is Zach Charbonnet. That's my pro comp for him.
Yeah,
Like you
that's so
said,
good.
he gets to top speed so quickly, and that's what Charbonnet does. But I
Yeah.
don't think he has that true second level. That's the thing. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, can he be a better, can he be better catching the ball out of the backfield like a Jeremiah Love can do, and then hit the cut? It's really interesting. I won't talk too much about, Mike Washington. I love Mike Washington. I want to talk about Nick Singleton. I haven't really talked about him
Okay.
in these rankings. He's going to come in at my running back for, he's a patient runner. I call him the explosion because he's just this drag running back where he's doing all these different moves and he's really closing space well in the open field. I really like his ability to churn his legs in a way, just keep getting chunk yardage out of it. Tight field for him is going to be his downfall. He runs himself into walls a little bit too much. Can he upgrade his vision? And that's kind of what a guy on that Penn State team has a little bit better than him, Katron Allen. He has that better vision. So, Pete, do you have any thoughts about Katron Allen? He's your running back six.
I do. I like him more on an every down basis than I do Nick Singleton. If you give me 1 year to have one of these players right now, I'm gonna take Allen. I think he's the better back right now. I think Singleton has the more upside long term. I think Singleton is the better athlete. I think he's gonna be a better player long term. But like if you're giving me and I guess I'm probably going to end up higher in the end on Singleton because this isn't a great class, and I'm going to probably rely on the upside with a lot of these guys down the board. But I liked Katron Allen more than I thought I was going to. It's interesting that those guys didn't produce a lot this year. Another guy I thought I like more than I thought I would is Jonah Coleman out of Washington. This is a guy that I don't usually like the players that are, 235, bowling balls that just run dudes over, but he doesn't play that way. And I was expecting a slow between the tackles, short yardage back. And they used him a lot in the passing game. They used him a lot outside of the numbers. They used him a lot in creative ways that you like to see out of a back that is that size, the versatility to show like, okay, I know I can be a short down yardage back. I know I can get you tough yards. I know I can churn through tackles. I this guy isn't going to break an 80-yard touchdown. You know he's not going to do a lot of those things, but you can leave him in on third downs. You can leave him in on true passing sets. I like the way he pass protected. I like the way he ran the ball. This dude's tough. He gets thin between the tackles more than I thought he would. He's slipperier than I expected out of a guy that weight. He's kind of an anomaly because I'll tell you what, I was expecting Audric Estime is what I was expecting, and he's better than that. This is a better player than I was expecting when I turned on the film.
It's very interesting. Yeah, like you said, for me, it's a size concern. 5'9" is small, dude.
Yeah.
And for me, like you said, he's very slippery within the tackles, but on film, I see a lot of out of control running outside the tackles. Um, he does a lot of this hit stick movements, and I want to see longevity with him. I want to see if he can stay healthy. I don't think this, play style is going to translate to the NFL the same way it did in college. That's going to be super interesting to see. Another guy we didn't hit on, but we hit on in previous episodes. It's going to be Emmett Smith. I think he had a down combine, which is why he's RB5. I'm really interested to see what his pro day is going to look like because he's a footwork master. It should be super interesting to see. We'll move on here to the wide receivers and the wide receivers. Oh, we got some discrepancies here. We got to talk about it. Pete, you have the floor.
Oh, where do we start? Okay, I want to start at three with KC. Are you up on him? Last time we talked, I have him a top 10 player in the class. I'm super high on him. Look at you. You're coming along. KC at three. I like it. Talk to me. You take the floor on KC. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I definitely am coming up on him. He's over Boston, and I think he was at 4 last time for me. So it's not crazy, but yes, from where he was probably in the 20s. He'll probably be a little bit higher when we do the big boards around that. Yeah, I just think that really watching his film again, his play style is going to translate. And watching his combine and seeing his drills, yeah, that's all going to translate. The burst is something you can't teach. You can't teach that fast of a burst. You can't teach that yak. You can't teach, the short yard footwork. It just can't happen. And a lot of these guys on this list don't have that. He's probably one of the best at that in this entire draft class, and his cuts are unreal. They are Jeremiah Love like cuts as a
Yeah.
wide receiver, which is crazy to say. Yeah, I'm really excited for him. I'm really interested to see where he goes. He's going to be a late first rounder. It's just how the
Yeah.
wide receivers are kind of trending. There could be a team that kind of trades up to the middle and maybe makes a splash for him, and maybe that'll be the shock of the draft. But yeah, that's kind of where I have him now. I'll talk about another guy. We talked about him in previous episodes. Zachariah Branch, his stock for me is going up, 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 and up. I loved his combine. I love what he does. He's an unbelievable guy. I see you making faces, Pete. Pete, what do you have to say about Zachariah Branch?
Dude, I was fully expecting just a pure athlete and just like yeah, this guy can be a return specialist. You might get him in some screen game stuff, like, whatever. He'll get 3 or 4 touches a game. He'll break some crazy 80-yard touchdowns twice a year, and that's it, right? Dude, he's a way better route runner than I thought he was going to be. It's similar to Jadarian Price. He wasn't asked to do it a lot. There's not a lot of quantity there of, okay, let me see you run this route tree that some of these the Jeremy Bernards run and some of these other Carnell Tate, these more polished Makai Lemon, these polished receivers can run. It's not that, but not because he can. It's because Georgia didn't ask him to. And I think he can. When you watch the few reps you do have of him, it's a lot more polished than I thought it was going to be. And you combine that with the athleticism. I mean, I think this dude's so good. I have a first round grade on him. I was not expecting to. Kind of crazy. I have 7 first round grades on receivers in this draft class. It's gonna probably end that way too. I don't think Branch is gonna end up lower than that. And so, I mean, I'm stoked. I think he's awesome. Having him at wide receiver 7 does not do justice on how good I think he is.
Someone is going to get him in probably the mid round. Like there's going to be something that happens in the draft, and he's going to go to some team, and they're going to get a steal, and they're going to be able to work him into the system. They're not going to reach on him if they don't think they have a plan for him. And I said last time on the tape, it's hard to watch Branch and not think of Tyreek Hill.
No,
So
you can't. That's all it is.
if you know what Tyreek Hill was like before the
Yes.
injury, then yeah, you're gonna want to bet on that. So I don't think it's crazy at all for him to go in those earlier rounds. Now, what I do think that is crazy is Makai Lemon going mid rounds. I think he's dropping more and more and more for me every single day. I know we have a huge discrepancy on this. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. I'm continuing to not see it. I didn't think his drills were that great at the combine. Um, Obviously, his interviews were not great either. I'm really interested to see how he does in his own environment in his pro day. Pete, am I off on that statement?
The one thing I would say is that, and I didn't come up with this, someone else came up with it, is like someone else told me to go back and watch the interviews just previous to that and just watch him in other environments, interviews he had with CBS or other programs during the college football season. He's not that weird. He's still weird. Like he's still a weird dude. The interviews I don't think are that glaring. I think it's just something was weird. He got too locked in. Like it was really creepy, but I don't think it's that bad. I know it sounds like the rumor is that he bombed his interviews too. So I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's just off his rocker. But I just like the floor so much, which is crazy to say about a wide receiver too, and how good of a wide receiver class I think this is. But I think he walks into the league and is one of the best slot receivers in the league. I think he can do it all. I think he can do it all from the slot. I'm high on a guy that has that projectability and that I think can plug into any offense. You said that the Tyreek Hill thing for Branch, I can't see anything other than Amon-Ra. I can't like I just can't turn my brain off that. And so knowing that aspect of who that player has become and that you're starting to see more of those pop up, you're starting to see Ibuka have the success he had. You're starting to see JSN have the success he had. I think JSN is more versatile than those other guys are, but I think the evolution of the slot receiver and what we're starting to see it become, I think just is kind of I just think his skill set is so valuable at the next level. With KC and Tyson and these other guys, they're kind of scheme specific. I think that you need to get them in the right system. Lemon can play on any 32 of the NFL teams in the league and be 1,000, 1,200, 13-yard receiver immediately. I think. I think he's that good. I think he has that skill set, and I think he can translate that well.
I think a guy who's really had a hit to his stock. He's my wide receiver 8 on my list. Malachi Fields, not the greatest combine, not the most speed in that area. I mean, he's obviously going to be a boundary X receiver. The only thing I can do when I look at pro comps, he's just a less explosive and slower DK Metcalf. It's very hard to see anything else. Can he grow? That's going to be the question here. He's got the locomotive type build. He's physical. He's got the intangibles. Can he build as a route runner? Can he build separating from the receivers? That's going to be a big thing for him. Pete, should we talk about Jordan Tyson real quick? You have him at wide receiver 4. I want to know why.
It's the injury concerns. Well, actually, no, it's not. Scratch the injury concerns. He's probably still wide receiver 4 for me. I don't see the I don't see it with him. He was one of my first evaluations I did in this class, and I've tried to see it, and I just don't. He seems like a less. He seems like he kind of tries. When I watch him, I see Jettas. I see Justin Jefferson, and like a not in a like a I see you as like a high school kid that's trying to be Justin Jefferson. He doesn't have that skill set. I don't see the explosiveness. I like the when he gets the ball. I had massive effort concerns. We've talked about that before. It was the who they play? Was it the Mississippi State game? It was early in the season. Whatever one of the first games they played, I watched, and his three best routes of the game were all the one where Sam Levitt, the quarterback, was staring him down the whole route. And so I don't like the effort. I don't like he terrible blocker. Kenyon Sadiq level blocking. Really, really, really bad. Those two things are things you really got to check for me to be a good receiver in the league with the intangible part of things. And I just don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm not. I need to watch more. I've watched 3 games of him and I've seen all the highlight reels plays. I understand all of it. I, I don't know. Some prospects just don't click, and he's just Jordan Tyson just is not clicking with me. You know, he's still a top 25 player in the draft for me. I still think he's good. The upside's obviously there. We have to talk about the injuries. I don't think the injuries are going anywhere. 4 different um, major injuries, whether it's hamstring, both knees got hurt, major ACL, MCL, LCL. I think it was his freshman year that he had to recover from. It's the injuries are a lot. I don't love the effort concerns. I don't see it on film. And so all of that coming together, he's still wide receiver 4 in this class, but I don't think he's all that for me.
Hey man, that's all good. I have my feelings about Lemon. You have your feelings about Tyson. We'll chomp at the bit and duel for the next year, and we'll come back when we do the redraft and we'll see who's right.
There you
That's
go.
how it'll always be. We'll move on here to the tight end class. Yeah, this was a really cool thing to scout, to really check into. I really like this tight end class, especially my 6. I'll tell you them right now. It's Sadiq at 1, Stowers at 2. I had Max Clare at my tight end 3. Michael
Yeah.
Trigg is going to be my tight end 4. Josh Cuevas my 5, and Eli Raridon my 6. Pete Dunn, very similar. We'll have the same top 2 here. Eli Raridon will be your tight end 3. Max Clare your 4. Michael Trigg your 5, and Justin Jolie your 6. So Pete Dunn, you have the floor. Talk to me about any of these guys.
Well, I think we got to start at Raritan because I think he's the biggest surprise out of all of these guys. I'm simply betting on the upside with him. I think he's very physical. I think he's you watch Cuevas, you have him at 5. When you watch him, he's just so rugged. He's such a strong player. Raritan has that. And so except Raritan's 6'7", I think Cuevas is 6'4".
Yep.
I mean, there's a build aspect that Raritan has he's thick. He's built very well, but he's a very good athlete, very mobile. He moves very well for his size, agility wise as well as speed wise. He's not the most polished route runner. Um, the weird thing about him, he didn't catch a touchdown pass in his college career, which is pretty interesting. A lot of that is due to injuries. This is a dude that cannot stay healthy. And that's the big thing for him, that he has to be able to stay healthy. I'm a Notre Dame fan. That's my college team. And it feels like the last 3 seasons has been, okay, is Raritan going to be healthy? And then, okay, is Raritan going to be healthy? And this year he's finally healthy and finally put together a lot of the things that we've been waiting for him to see for the last few years. This is a guy that can stay healthy to the next level and translate to the next level. I think he's going to be a really, really good tight end.
So here's what I wrote down for him. Beast of a blocker. He's the best blocking tight end in this class. Kenyon Sadiq needs to take notes. He's got tight hips, tiny strides as a route runner. So it kind of looks awkward. I see where you're coming from with the
Yeah,
upside, obviously. He's going to be the dream Y in the NFL. And he's got the short yardage footwork. He's going to be a red zone specialist, probably. Maybe get him as a tight end 2, tight end 3 in a system. He can't be
perfect.
a tight end 1 right now.
Yep.
He's for me, he's a non-factor downfield tight end. However, you're drafting him for the blocking upside. Let's make that very, very clear. For me, it's just I just don't know how much of an impact he can make. That's why he's my tight end 6. But we have to acknowledge how good of a blocker he is.
Yeah,
Um, we'll move on here to I'll talk about Max Clare because Max Clare for me is one of the more polished tight ends in this
I
class.
agree.
You have
Yeah.
Sadiq upside, you have Stowers upside, you have Trig upside. Cuevas is pretty balanced. Raridon obviously is kind of a little lopsided in a way. Max Clare can kind of do it all. I wrote down he's a quarterback's best friend, excellent body control at the point of the catch, great feel for defenders. He's really a dynamic route runner. And he has this yard after catch burst, which shocks me. Pete Dunn, am I far off on that, or do you feel the same way?
No, I feel very, very strongly. He's a top 50 player in this draft, top 60 player in this draft. He is my dream Kelsey replacement for the Chiefs, is because he's like you said, he's that possible route runner. Like people like to say, like, oh, the Chiefs need to draft Sadiq. Like those are two totally different players. Like Sadiq is not a very not polished route runner right now. Claire is, and even more so, I think he transferred from Purdue to Ohio State. He put on weight to get to Ohio State. And so if you're looking for him to be more of a receiving tight end, slim him down and get him back to the weight where he's more comfortable. And you can see, a lot of what he had coming into this year as a first round top 20 prospect. And so I totally agree with you. I think he's really, really good. I love the upside. And I love the stability of who he is. Everybody else on this list is a projection and a really good athlete. And I think he's a good athlete. I don't think he's a bad athlete, but he wins as a route runner. Just like I said, the Kelsey idea of having him be in that offense and learn from Kelsey and then be able to take over in that role, I think is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, right here, he really just needs to develop as an inline tight end. It's really the only development he needs. He works a lot out of the slot. So that's going to
Yeah.
be a big thing for him. I'll talk about a guy who's full of development, question marks, but he's such an intriguing prospect. And he's going to come in at my tight end 4 and your tight end 5, Michael Trigg. Man, this was one of the more interesting watches because he's just basically like a massive wideout. But at the same time, he's playing tight end. Is that going to translate to the NFL? I don't know because he's not the greatest blocker. He's very, very raw. Production is really only coming from the hybrid role. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's there. I see it. So, Peter, what do you think of that?
I do. I love him as a gadget guy. I love him as a gadget player. I think he's such a good athlete. The yak's good. I like the way that he would be able to plug and play is just kind of like get the ball in his hands. I don't think he's a super like like polished route runner yet. Going from Claire to him is just there's a difference there. I don't think he's a bad route runner, but he's just kind of an asset to an offense as a whole, and he can do a lot of the things that you ask him to, and I think that's really valuable.
All right, well, we'll move on here to a segment that, usually we say the best for first, but this is the best for last because we're going to get into it really right here. And this is going to be, we're going to talk about the offensive line really and the offensive tackles. And we have a bunch of discrepancies we have to talk about. Firstly, that somebody is missing from this list. So, Peter, I'm going to let you take the floor and explain why.
He's a guard. Spencer Fondo's a guard. I do not see him as a tackle at all. I obviously went on my rant for our initial big boards. He's amazing as a run blocker. I love him as a run blocker. He's very polished as a run blocker. I struggle with the pass protection. He's a good athlete. He's a really good athlete. You're never going to see him lose stability on a kick slide. He's never going to get beat to the outside by any of these speed rushers. You can put, any of these 230-pound NASCAR package guys. I mean, they're not going to get around him athletically, but he cannot handle speed of power at all. It's a nightmare for him. You get somebody up here that is powerful enough to disrupt that lower half of his, and he can't handle it. And so, getting him in a more confined space, like a guard spot, I think would be really good for him. That's not even talking about the arm length that came in, half an inch shorter than Will Campbell's last year. With all of the talks that we've had about him throughout the season, the arm length's bad. He can't handle power that well. I don't think he's that much of a specialist hand wise. I don't think he wins with his head the way Campbell did. Um, all of the positives that he has, the best part of his games, all translate well to guard. The weaknesses of his games are weaknesses at the tackle. And so I think if you're from a team building perspective, you look at a guy that, okay, can he play tackle for in a pinch? Yes, he can play tackle in a pinch. This is a really, really, really good guard. And I think that if you are a offensive line coach, I think that's where you're going to want to put him.
Very, very interesting. We're both consensus on Maui Noah being a tackle. I'll talk about him really quick. I think he's the most pro ready out of anybody in this class. The versatility is there. I mean, he could technically play all four positions. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you'd put him at center, but like pass pro for him is the strength. And that's not what a lot of these guys are known for. A lot of these guys are just run block, run block, run block. Maui Noah is going to get it done in the pass. That's rare technically in this weaker offensive line class. I see him as an anchor tackle. He does a great job at, mirroring blockers, well balanced, and he's super technical. For me, can he combat the speed and the inside moves that kind of dupe him at times? That's going to be the big question for Maui Noah. Peter, what do you think of that?
I like a lot of that. I think he's the highest floor guy out of all of these prospects, like you said. I think he wins with his head more than anything. I think he's the smartest out of the group. He's the most understanding of the way everything works. You don't have many concerns with him. I think he's a really, really good guard. I thought about putting him at the guard position, but this kind of the way I think about him. Um, why am I blanking on his name? The Steelers left tackle, the kid Troy Fatanu. I kind of see that with him is like, okay, I think you're an all pro level guard. Like I think you can genuinely be one of the best guards in the league. But I want to let you fail at tackle first. Like let's see if you can do it because I think you can. I think there's tackle flexibility in there. And worst case scenario, you have a really good guard. And that's kind of the prospect I have with him. There's someone missing on your list too that I'm pretty high on. Where is Proctor a guard for you, or you just think he's a terrible football player?
No, so that'll take us in to our interior offensive line. Yeah, I did a film study this morning. I think Proctor's a guard, and I think he
Okay.
would be the best guard in this class. I went back and forth about it, but for me, I'll talk to you about my notes. Huge frame, great first step getting off that creates kind of that space. For me, he's an early gate opener. So what that means for everybody who doesn't know, he's playing left tackle, right? And first move, he starts his two steps back and he's kind of leaning this way because he's kind of giving, okay, the edge is going to go this way. And what happens is he gets an inside move and he's done and he's screwed. So for me, I just don't know. I think you rely on his strength and his power. facing lesser pass rush moves and bags, and you just throw him at the guard. And I think in this situation, he's going to, like you said in the last segment, you throw Marinho at tackle, let him fail there, and then you move him. I think Proctor should be a guard. He should be viewed as a guard, but I think he will start off in the league as a tackle. Um, yeah, he's a phenomenal run blocker. Pass protection definitely needs work, but for me, you know, I'm very high on the prospect player. You'll see in the big boards where he lands for me. But what do you think about that? Is that that's different from where you had him because you had him as a tackle?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you said. I think I'm trusting the athletic upside. I think when you move at that weight and you have the ability to get out the way that he does and handle speed the way that he does at such a high level, as well as, I mean, Keldrick Falk isn't bullying this dude as strong as he is. There is no bullying Caden Proctor, and I think at a left tackle position that can handle both of those things at such a high level there's not a lot of tackles that can do that. And so I think he's good. I like the footwork for that size. It gets clunky at times, but I think overall there's just the upside there that's really good. And he has played high football for a while. He's played good football at Alabama in the SEC at left tackle. A lot of the things that the weaknesses I see, I'm gonna rely on the athleticism to be coached out of him, and develop at the next level. Maybe he's gonna end up as an Evan Neal, and it's just not gonna work. But I think it could. I like the upside with him.
Well, I see something on the screen that a lot of YouTube fans are going to look at and be like, all right, you don't have Spencer Fano at the tackle position, but now he's your interior offensive lineman too. So you got to tell me about who's number one.
Yeah, I think it's one of, I mean, he might end up as a top 12 player in the draft for me, top 10 player. He's just consistently rose, and the more I watch him, the more I see like you kind of can't beat this guy. He doesn't get beat. He does everything at such a great level. It's so like every rep is just like I can't ask for anything more of you. Like there's no athletic concerns. There's no concerns at all. He handles power really well. His hands are impeccable. His base is awesome. You don't worry about him leaning forward too much or leaning backward too much. Like yeah, he's a great athlete when they get him in space. I have no concerns about him in any aspect of his game. Fano, I do, and I think Fano's really good. Um, I don't have any concerns with him, and everything he does at a really, really, really high level. And I just, I was shocked at how much I like watching him. He is a very, 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 very good football player.
I think something super intriguing with Vega is that he's super upright in his stance. And it's crazy to me because usually, you get these super, and he's super athletic as it is. I mean, 13th athletic score. He's more flexible than you think for guards at the
Yeah.
combine, but like he's blocking these dudes in a very upright stance. It just shows how mobile he is, how his hips are in sync with his feet and his hands, and everything is a locomotive. It's in one motion. Really quick, is there anybody else on this list that you would like to highlight?
I don't think so. Billy Strauss is a guy out of Notre Dame. I think is gonna rise up boards. I've been seeing him getting some mid second round grade, and that's about where I have him. I have him, Pregnon, and Basantis all in that mid to second round grade. I think they're all really good. Strauss, guy that struggled with injuries towards ACL last year. As long as those medical clear, I think he's gonna be really good.
Keep your name out or keep an eye out for Connor Liu. He's going to be the center number one in this entire class, in my opinion.
Yes.
And it should be super interesting to see. But we thank you guys for tuning in to the Draft Guys podcast with Peyton and Nico. Stay tuned because we got Big Boards Top 75 edition coming to you in the next coming days. That should be a blast. But thank you guys.